nothing spotted funnel cloud-wise, so that's great news there.
An amateur radio reported debris in Farmington.
Okay, wow.
That's all it says. Not more specific than that. Oh, this came down. It says, no. Well, the report came in at 5:18. It doesn't say what time the report was called in, but it's an amateur radio report of debris in Farmington.
And I wonder if that was from straight line winds from that line hitting. Hey guys, let's take me back up to Edwardsville. We still have, because there's primarily 3, and now there's going to be 4. In fact, do you mind before you zoom in, I'll try and point them out. Since we got the big picture here, let's kind of show you where the strongest storms are, so you can see the big picture. We've got one that's out near Edwardsville that has some rotation. One that's near, north of Mascoutah now, that has some rotation. Here is this storm that has a history of producing a tornado, still shows rotation. It's over Chester, headed to Sparta. And then there's the other storm that's down around Fredericktown and Madison County. So there's kind of 4 areas. Also, don't forget, anywhere along this line, we could be dealing with a spin-up and a tornado. That notch right there is going to be that first one that I mentioned about Edwardsville. So that's the notch that I want to zoom in on. That is the storm, actually, that we were tracking. Russell Kinsall is on top of it. And guys in the booth, if Russell's on this storm, still let me know, because if he's just east and southeast of it, he still has a clear picture of where, go up a little bit to the north, a clear picture of what might be producing a funnel cloud. I think it'd be right in there, guys, around Worden and Hamill. You want to switch over to the Doppler winds, and we'll see if we see any kind of couplet there. So Worden, Hamill, back down towards just north of Edwardsville. Haven't had any reports come out of Edwardsville of any kind of damage or funnel clouds, so that's some real good news. On the left-hand side of your screen is, by the way, a picture from our Deanna Zoga, who's out in Belleville. Remember, the strongest storm that's in that area is just to the east by a few miles, so that's one of the other storms we're watching. But this storm still has that potential to produce a tornado. That data, by the way, from that velocity might be a little bit old, and that's why it's down here to the south, whereas the rotation would most likely be right around Worden, Interstate 55 here. This is going to head up towards Mount Olive and Litchfield, and so this may actually kind of follow Interstate 55. So here's 55 right here, jogs north, and then goes a little bit northeast. Here's Litchfield. The Honey Bend area was hit so hard. A beautiful home right off the interstate there. A log cabin was destroyed earlier from a tornado earlier this year. And we have now a rotating storm that's kind of headed up Interstate 55. That shows you some of the cities in the path of that storm. Prairie Town is pretty much on top of you now. Dorchester in about 13 minutes. Mount Olive in about 17 minutes. Gillespie in about 18 minutes. And again, I'm saying about because these are all estimated times, and that speed certainly could change a little bit. It's interesting that there's still some noted rotation there, because this rotating storm was in an individual cell. We call it discrete. It was an individual cell on its own, and now it's merged with this line coming in from the west. So now it's all part of that line, but there's still rotation right on that line there.
And it's about to merge with that stronger cell rolling now out of northeastern St. Clair County and into the southeastern part of Madison County, Steve, which, at least in the short term, is probably going to jumble up the works even more so here in terms of trying to mine the data to find the exact spot of that rotation and potential tornado. But I think you just need to be cautious across all of the northeastern half right now of Madison County and eventually into most of Bond and Montgomery counties on the Illinois side as well, just to be on the safe side.
I should tell you, too, that we do have some isolated cells and some showers out in central Missouri behind this main line. There are no warnings on this right now. I'm not expecting it, but there's still a lot of rotation because there's still probably upper level low to move through. But generally speaking, and I say generally because, of course, as soon as I say for sure, it's going to prove me wrong. But generally speaking, I'm not expecting a lot of severe weather out of this stuff. The main action is this line and east, and that's why a lot of the area of St. Louis and west is getting out of the severe weather threat. Not completely, it's really diminishing, because I still want to watch what happens back here in central Missouri. But that severe weather threat, the big threat for today, is starting to diminish in St. Louis and shift into the Metro East and our Illinois counties. We're not going to quit. We're going to stay on the air here and keep you posted, especially since we're noticing several areas of rotation. Speaking of rotation, when we talk about tornadoes, we're talking about small areas of rotation. What Kent just noticed is where that upper level low is. You want to talk about that and that monster rotation with that storm?
Well, out ahead of that is where you're going to get all the moisture. You can clearly see that the moisture and the instability is being drawn up to the south here. It's very easy to pick out this rotation right in here. This is actually, I think this is probably the cold front back in here. This is what we call a dry line, and that's where all the action has been. And as Steve's saying, that we could easily still see some thunderstorms pop up out of this line. It's not as likely. We don't think that the severe threat is anywhere near what we're seeing from this activity out here. But remember, that tornado watch is in effect until 9 o'clock tonight, and it's going to take it that long for this to probably move through here. So there may be some focus on this for later on this evening after all of this activity moves through our area. We're going to have to watch the front itself as it pushes through. I should add the temperatures on the back side of that system, of that low pressure system, are a lot cooler. A short time ago in Columbia, it was in the
video from inside the Red Cross warehouses in Joplin. Roy Gillespie, a Red Cross volunteer manager from St. Louis, is coordinating the donations. There's clothing, truckloads of food, dozens.
Here for the past few days. We're going to drop down into the 60s tomorrow, maybe even the 50s in some spots. But you can clearly see that rotation from that low pressure system, and all of that really has to move through, and it will by tomorrow. In fact, early in the morning, I think the upper level loads will be very close to right on top of us. So the severe weather, the thunderstorms will all be pushed off to the east. We'll be on the backside of this thing. We'll have cloudy skies. It'll be a raw day for Memorial Day, almost Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be cool, a little bit on the breezy side, mostly cloudy, but the rain that falls, as is falling right now in Kansas City, should be light for the most part, and we will be out of the severe threat. But we are going to be getting a big change in the sensible weather in our area over the next 12 hours.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton in the Forward Storm Center with our crew, the Forward Storm team, and at times on the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to notice us showing you some pictures from around the area. Try and do our best to let you know where that's from. It's not always the storm that we're on radar. What we're trying to do is just show you, because there's so much going on across the area, what it looks like. We're providing you kind of the pictures from within the storm via the Ustream, which is that technology from the iPhone that lets our reporters stay safe while bringing us pictures from the storm, and then of course at the same time providing you the radar analysis of these storms. With that said, the radar analysis, one thing that we now need to draw our attention to is flooding, and there happens to be quite a lot of it across St. Louis with some heavy rain, flash flood. Is it warning that has been issued?
Well, we've got a handful of flash flood warnings. We've been so focused on severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings that we haven't talked a whole lot about it. But I do want to let folks know, even around metropolitan St. Louis, especially on the Missouri side here, where the severe weather threat is diminishing, and you're going to hear us talk less and less about large hail and damaging winds, we've got flash flooding problems. In the city of St. Louis, an emergency manager estimates 6 inches of water covering all 4 lanes of Manchester Road just east of Hampton. Heavily traveled this time of day especially. Also estimating 4 inches on Hampton near River de Pere. Boy, can the River de Pere ever ramp up quickly on days like this. We know that's true. And also, while we're talking about things sort of not directly related to tornadic activity, I want to let everybody know, if you're in the area of one of these rotating thunderstorms, but off to the north and northwest of it, where you're not maybe in the direct line of the tornado or the potential tornado, the rotating part of the thunderstorm, you could be in line for some incredibly large hail. There's pictures that almost boggle the mind on our Facebook page right now, KMOV.com's Facebook page. You see very large hail. And here's one from a train spotter in Sunset Hills. This is not all that new information, but I just wanted to give it as an example. From about 50 minutes ago, 4:35, 4.5-inch hail. This is a train spotter who got out a ruler, for heaven's sake, and measured this specifically at 4.5 inches. That is softball-sized hail that came down at Gravois and Heidelberg. I'm sure our newsroom is likely getting reports of some smashed-out car windows if the cars were setting outside near that part of Gravois Road. So, Steve, it's a multifaceted threat here, and even as the severe weather threat shuts